What is up, my dudes, and welcome to Patch Notes, a show where I go over my favorite news stories of this past week. Before we get to the big one though, let's start with some smaller ones. First of all, Game Informer's back. All the original staff is back. They got purchased by a German game studio from what I can tell, called Gunzilla. They created a micro company, or I guess a shell company, and promised to allow them to keep all their editorial content independent, so they can make their own choices without being influenced by their owners. They came back with a back catalog of reviews and Game of the Year list, and gave Astrobot the nod for the best game of the year. So check them out, subscribe to them if you want to. I'm just glad to see them back, and it's good to see like a positive story like this after all the layoffs that we always get. It's cool to see some people come back for once. Now the next thing I wanted to talk about was the Nintendo Direct. We got a brand new aithesomniumfiles game, which I've been suspecting since Uchikoshi released some tweet about a year ago with some weird teasers. So I thought that'd be coming soon, but I didn't think it'd be this soon since he and the rest of the team at 2KO Games have been so focused on the 100 line. But now I know why it's so soon. Uchikoshi tweeted at himself that he's not actually the writer for this game. It's kind of a spin-off, but one of the lead writers from the previous games is the one that wrote it. So he guarantees entertainment, which I believe him. It should be good. The only sad bit of news for it is that there's no PlayStation launch. It's only on PC and Switch. Pretty disappointing, but it is what it is, I guess. I'll probably just end up getting it on Switch. Atlus also announced a raidou port. Shin Megami Tensei Devil Summoner is a pretty old series from the PS2 that I've always wanted to get into, but I just never did for whatever reason. But now that they're porting it to PlayStation, Switch, and PC, and I think Xbox too, I'm definitely in there. I'm gonna give it a shot. Aside from that though, we also got some pretty surprising news. Patapon and Everybody's Golf, both of which are Sony owned IP, are getting brand new game. Well, Patapon is getting a port to the Switch and Everybody's Golf is getting a new game. This is after Freedom Wars was just put on Switch as well. All these games are being published by Bandai Namco, so it seems like they've got some sort of a new deal going on. Not too long ago, I believe Herman Hulse said that they were looking into new ways to utilize their back catalog of IP, and I guess this seems to be one of them. Porting their games onto Nintendo consoles, probably not Xbox, let's be real here. I mean, it's a good way for them to make more money and reach new audiences, especially with games that they're not really doing anything with, like Patapon, Everybody's Golf, Freedom War. I mean, they were all just sitting there, so why not, relaunch them, get somebody else to make the new games, and see how it goes. I hope all these work out. I hope they're all successful, because Sony at this point, I think, needs more new kinds of games. I love the third-person story-driven action games that they make, but some variety is always gonna be preferable than the same thing over and over again, especially since so many of their main studios are tied up with other stuff and are probably going to be working on the same game for a long time. They might even just be PS6 games at this point with how long dev cycles are now. So who knows? We'll see how it goes. But the main one, the biggest story of the week for me, Tencent bails out Ubisoft. So I'm reading this over from the Game Informer article. Ubisoft announced Tencent has invested $1.25 billion for a minority stake in a newly created subsidiary that will spearhead the development of its three biggest franchises going forward: Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Rainbow Six. According to the press release, this new subsidiary, which does not yet have a name, will focus on building game ecosystems designed to become truly evergreen and multi-platform. Backed by greater investment and boosted creative capacities, it will drive further increases in quality of narrative solo experiences, expand multiplayer offerings with increased frequency of content release, including free-to-play touchpoints, and integrate more social features. The subsidiary includes the teams responsible for developing the Assassin's Creed, Rainbow Six, and Far Cry franchises located in Montreal, Quebec, Sherbrooke, Saguenay, Barcelona, and Sofia. The new subsidiary will now manage these series, back catalogs, games currently in development, and any future titles. This, I think everyone saw coming. There have been plenty of reports, obviously, with Ubisoft being in turmoil. I mean, even if you don't pay attention to the reports, you can just tell. So the last couple of games that Ubisoft released, I mean, no one's really seemed to care about them. Assassin's Creed Shadows just came out and seems to be getting okay reviews. They're positive, but I'm also seeing a lot of people say that the game is just very okay. Like there's nothing really special about it. And they just crossed like 2 million players. I don't know how that translates to sales because player count does not necessarily mean that all of them purchased the game. There's that. Star Wars Outlaws was kind of a bust. That was supposed to be their big fall game last year. It doesn't seem like it ever really turned around. X Defiant just got canceled and shut down. That Prince of Persia game people loved, but it didn't sell well. Skull and Bones, I mean, literally who talks about that? They've also been canceling some games. They canceled The Division Heartland. Who knows what's even going on with the Splinter Cell remake, or Beyond Good and Evil 2, or the Prince of Persia Sands of Time remake as well. I mean, Ubisoft's been kind of in a state of flux for a while, and they've just needed to make something happen. I don't think this is the end though. Obviously, partnering with Tencent is great for them because, I mean, they'll get a nice monetary boost, which is what they need, and they can save their 3 biggest franchises from going away. But I really do think that, I mean, unfortunately, there will probably still be budget cuts. I'm pretty sure they're going to start cutting teams' headcounts a lot. They have 18,666 people under employment. I mean, that's insane. That's a lot of people for a video game company that's not really releasing that many hits. As for the rest of their IP, I think they're gonna probably start selling them off. At this point, I'm so detached from a lot of their games. I used to be, probably back in like the 2010s, Ubisoft used to be my favorite publisher. You know, I used to love Far Cry. I used to love Assassin's Creed. I loved Watch Dogs. But it's just over the years, it's like they released the same thing over and over again. Stories started falling off. If there was any IP that I wanted them to sell and I wanted to see somebody else like take a stab at it, I think Watch Dogs and Rayman in someone else's hands would be so cool. I don't know who I would really want to make a Watch Dogs game, but I'd love to see Watch Dogs come back in some sort of way. I think Watch Dogs 1 was the best one. I love that game. Watch Dogs 2 had pretty great gameplay, but the story and characters were whack. But I just like the premise so much, being able to hack everything and you can parkour around. Watch Dogs was just such a mishandled IP. I'd love to see it come back just in someone else's hands. And Rayman is just a really solid side-scrolling platformer. I don't know. What do you guys think? Where do you want to see these new IP go if they do end up selling them? And what do you think Ubisoft goes after this? I mean, obviously they're going to keep making Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Tom Clancy, but Tencent giving them some money I don't think is really going to solve all their problems right now. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Anyways, sleep tight, everybody. I know I will.